I'm joined here now by poet Zaira Pirzada. Now, I was reading your bio and you've done quite a lot of different things, but for people who don't know you, I'll just get you to give some background into yourself.
I mean, I started off, as everyone does in many ways, finding out what I like to read and what I like to study, and perhaps where my interests and curiosities are. And from a young age, they were in athletics, they were in arts and writing, and then they were also in understanding history and politics. And so I brought those worlds together. And what I've done in my life so far is professionally, I've worked in a few things in anti human trafficking in Colombia for a little. As a part of my graduate school experience, I then moved on to acting in television on CBS for some time. It was a reality show that we worked quite hard in creating, building that experience. And that experience was centered around a lot of the work I had done in graduate school and in college, open source intelligence. And that led me to where I am today. I'm an advisor at one of the top IT security consulting and advisory firms, analyst firms, even Gartner. So I've done random things. And then in my own time, I've competed for some time in powerlifting and various other kinds of sports and my arts, my book.
And you touched on your writing, but how did you first originally get started writing?
I was just inspired by my grandfather, my mother's father. He was a poet and he was well versed in so many languages: German, Russian, Farsi, Dari, Urdu, Punjabi, Hindi, English. I just admired him from my youth. I wanted to do I wanted to do what he did and be him in so many ways. And he raised me. So that's where the seed came from, that seed for writing and for literature. And then my mother is an avid reader and she's as curious. I come from parents who are multifaceted in ways that makes me so unoriginal in just that idea. So my mother had always made it a point to take us to the library, my brother and I, and expose us to different literature and books. And she was always reading, and in many ways, I wanted to be like her as well. So I started reading, and I found worlds in writing, worlds I could not experience and live. And I found poetry, more Urdu poetry. So various poets like Faiz Ahmed Faiz, Mir Taqi Mir, Muhammad Iqbal, quite famous poets. And I started reading their work, and I was just enamored by the different ways you could speak to spirituality and love.
So, with your debut book, are these kind of the themes that you touch on?
Lucid House Publishing, Connor, who's one of the founders of Lucid House Publishing, is a friend of mine, and used to just write some of my poetry on Instagram or different places. And he found me and he said, you got to do something with this." And I was never the kind of person to do something with it. Then, when COVID-19 hit, I was at home, and the only way I could cope through everything I was going through was through art and exercise. And if I wasn't exercising, I was writing prolifically. And Qurban in the Urdu language, even in Arabic, means a sacrifice. And there was a lot that I felt as though I had to release, to get out, to, I don't know, to become through. So what Qurban actually is, yes, it's inspired by Urdu poets. It's also inspired by several romanticists, naturalists, and different kinds of schools of poetry. But what the purpose of the book was to do was to open the world up to how I feel about my sexuality, how I feel about the socio-political climate in the United States as of current, and to the journey I went through in love throughout that time. It's very current. There aren't many pieces that come from my past. Soon enough, I'm working on the second book where I will revamp and take a lot of the pieces throughout my life and put it into there. This was for the time.
And if anyone is looking to buy the book, where should they go?
There are so many places. I'm not going to give a shout out to any one place to say that they're better than the other. I know people are avid consumers of products from Amazon, so it is on Amazon. And otherwise it's at Barnes and Noble, it's on Kobo, it's various places. If you're to look up Qurban by Zaira Pirzada, it should be many different places. So of your choosing.
Thank you so much for your time today, Zaida.
Absolutely. Thank you as well for having me.